Good day, good day. Hello, and welcome to another Alan Heath Sessions. Anthony's here already. Good morning. Right in there, first comment. Good work. You win. Oh no, hang on. I know what you can win. You can win this new toy that I was pleasantly surprised to find when I logged on to the streaming stuff today. I found out I can have a little ticker. There we go. Look at this. Makes me feel like I've got any paper here. What's that? I need a bit of paper to like shuffle and look like a newsreader. But enough about that playing. Let's look at what we're going to talk about today. Oh, I've got a few more people joining now. Good afternoon. Good to see you again, City. I hope you're well in South Africa. Good afternoon, Ronnie. In Ireland, I was going to do an Irish accent then, but I won't. That'd be a really bad idea. Good afternoon. Oh, Greg's on a flying visit. But he's still loving his SQ. Good man, Greg. Good man. So as always, if you have any questions today, I am here to answer them. So just post anything you like in the comments. I will try and get round to as many as I can. If you have anything that's been bothering you, been wondering about, please do pop it in the chat. We are live on YouTube and Facebook right now. Today's session is all about SQ, so please keep the questions to SQ if you can. I'll be doing a session next week on Q, so just to try and keep them kind of separated out. And on that point, we also have Jack doing Avantis and D-Live sessions. And we also have Al doing the DJ stuff, so all the zone sessions. If you want to check out what's coming up and or rewatch any of the previous sessions that we've done, you can find them. Should have got the links ready. Didn't get the links ready. It's events. If you search for events, it's Alan-Heath. Probably know off the top of my head. /events. Check that's the right site. Oh, it is. It's perfect. Okay, great. Is that going to come up with it without the HTTP? Yes. I don't know. There you go. Great. So yeah, if you want to see what we've done before, rewatch any, see what's coming up, go there. That also includes from our American team, and they are award-winning. I haven't got an award. I'm very sad about that. But they are award-winning sessions that they're running, which is fantastic. And I watched the one last night, which was live from Infocom. So it's cool seeing that trade shows are back up. You guys can come and see us at those trade shows and have a play with the consoles, and we can answer your questions there and run through things with you. But we will continue with these sessions, don't worry, because they are a lot of fun. Phil says it's rather grey in Yorkshire. It's rather grey in Cornwall as well. It's mizzly. It's classic Cornwall. I mean, it's summer, isn't it? So it's got to be. But welcome along. Thanks for coming. Okay. Oh, there is a question. How do you recover? Oh, I'm just going to answer this straight off the bat. Oh, Yoshimi's in Tokyo. Hey, Yoshimi. Thanks for coming along again. How would you recover from or reset a lost admin password on SQ? That is a fairly easy one in some regard. So it's probably best to try and remember your password if you can, because what you'll need to do is a hard reset. So if you do a hard reset, you will lose everything. You'll lose all settings and everything. But that will allow you to get back into the console. Mal's here. Hey, Mal. Just missed the first 4 minutes. I'm surprised you're here, Mal. I thought you've been traveling all over Europe recently, which is great to see. But I'm glad you could make it. Hello. Franks. Oh, we've got another question here. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna leave some of these and then I'll get onto those because there's a couple of things I want to cover first, which I've had asked about again recently. So that is front of house and monitor setups. So having two consoles and one stage box, and how are you going to route all of that? How are you going to connect it all up? And how are you going to get everything working nicely? So let's start off by looking at the physical side of things. This button, please work. Oh, it worked. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So the physical connection's fairly straightforward. You've got, and I'm using SQs here because it's an SQ session, but the principles of this are the same with any of the digital kind of. It's a digital split. with any of our consoles. So you've got a front of house section there, a monitor section, and the stage. The stage I've connected up to the S-Link port. I haven't written that in, but that's just connected up physically to the S-Link port. Let me just see if I can draw that. S-Link. So that's the S-Link port there that's connected up to, and we've also got an S-Link option card. So we've got a secondary S-Link port connected up to front of house. So that's pretty easy. That kind of makes sense. Hopefully, there's only a few ways you can connect that up, so you can't get it wrong. You could connect up the GX4816 to the S-Link option card and connect the S-Link ports together if you like as well. You could have a Dante stage box, and you might be connecting to a Dante option card and then connecting the S-Links together. You could also have a Dante card in each of the SQs. So any way you hook this up, you've got two separate digital connections to the monitor console there. With regards, just to quickly cover, this is a very important point. You do need to have one clock leader there. Now, I would always recommend that your monitor console is the clock leader, because this is the cable that is most likely to be run over or snapped or broken, and you'll be able to get going again faster if everything's running off this one. Also, the clocking is automatic for the expander, and it will run off the SQ7. So in my mind, even though it really doesn't make a lot of difference, the SQ7 there is the kind of clock leader, which is sending out clock to both the GX4816 and the SQ5. So to set up that, if I was on my front of house, and let's have a look at this one. I'll give you a little thing just so you know which one we're on. There you go, front of house SQ. Just popping over the top there. So you need to go to setup, and you need to go to audio sync, and then you would select S-Link, which is already selected because I'm hooked up to a queue at the moment. But that will mean that this front of house console will sync up to the monitor console. So nice and easy. All right. Next bit, let's look in a little bit more detail at the ports. So let's get rid of that one. Let's look at this one. So with regards to ports and how you're going to patch these, again, hopefully this is kind of straightforward, but we're going to get into tie lines a little bit now. So the inputs are coming from the GX4816, and they're going into the monitor console. We'll also use tie lines in the monitor console to send those S-Link inputs onto the I/O port outputs, which is where our S-Link card is connected. And then we will take those outputs, because that's connected up to the front of house, and it will be our S-Link inputs. And then that goes into our front of house console. Then the outputs from here will be going to the S-Link outputs, which will be going back to the I/O port. And the I/O port will then be patched again using tie lines. So these bits here in the middle are our tie lines. Good handwriting, thanks. Hopefully you can make sense of that. So those will be going there, but also our monitor outputs and any outputs from the SQ7 will be going to the outputs, which will be going back to the GX. So hopefully you followed that. We're just going through, we're kind of tapping off almost into the monitor console, sending those on with tie lines to the front of house console, doing what we like there, and then going back the other direction and merging everything back in together, back to the GX4816. Hopefully following that. Let's see if there's any questions so far on that, or if I've said something really stupid. Hopefully I haven't said anything super stupid. I say a lot of stupid things. I've got lots of people here today. This is great. I didn't think there'd be lots of people here today, because everyone's kind of, certainly in the northern hemisphere, out and about doing gigs again, which is great. There doesn't seem to be many engineers around, because that's when I start getting asked to do gigs. I'm kind of 20th on the list, so I can gauge how how busy everyone is by when I get asked. How to mirror to SQ? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll get onto those ones in a minute. That's good. Yep, Brooklyn, that will help. Yep, and I will answer that properly in a second. Okay, there's nothing about what I'm talking about at the moment, so I'm going to carry on, and then I will get back to your questions in just a minute. So let's get rid of the ports bit. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Oh no, what have I drawn on? I haven't drawn there. Let's get rid of that. Right. This is when it gets a little bit more complex. So this is the same thing again. It's the same setup. But now what we've got are some channels. I've broken out some of these channels so we can see what we want to do with them. So again, to and from, let's just write these in now so we know what's going on with those. Yeah, that makes sense. And also we've got our connection over here. So that's S-Link inputs are coming from the IO port outputs, and S-Link outputs are going to the IO port inputs. And we also still have our tie lines in place. But what we're going to want to do with those, let's get into that a little bit more, is our main LR is going to go to S-Link outputs. That's easy. And actually, let's do it the other way around. So our inputs on the front house coming in there. We're going to do a mix. That's fine. That's going to end up at the main LR. Then the S-Link outputs back to the inputs, and then tie line those back over. So all those tie lines would still work. So we've got the inputs going straight through to the IO port outputs, through to the front of house console, doing a mix over here, and then coming out from the outputs back to the inputs. So it's always outputs to inputs, outputs to inputs. And probably let's have a quick look at how you patch those tie lines, the straight through tie lines that we're not doing anything else with. So although this is part of the monitor console routing, we don't have to think about it in terms of processing, because it's not touching the processing at all. We're not doing anything to it really on the SQ7 in Monitorland. And all of that is done in the tie lines in the I/O screen. So in tie lines in the I/O screen, all of our input sockets that we've got available are on the left, and all of our output sockets that we've got available are at the top. So in this case, let's look at it again just to remind ourselves. We want to get GX4816, which is S-Link inputs, to the I/O port outputs. And I'll write tie lines on there again so we know where we're at. These ones are tie lines. Okay, so I'm checking myself now. So our input port is the S-Link inputs, so S-Link input sockets, and that is going to our I/O port. I've got a Dante card in here at the moment, but it could just as easily be an S-Link option card. So what I need to do then is say, if I had a GX4816 connected, these first 48, I probably, to keep things simple, just want to patch one-to-one to that I/O port output. I could do that really quickly and easily. I'm not going to break anything, just check in by just touching and holding. So I've switched patch on, touching and holding, and then I can just use the touch and turn wheel there and keep going through. And when I get to the end, because it'll only show me 32, let go, patched all of those. Now I just tap this again to see the next lot of input sockets, and I tap this one again to see the next lot of output sockets. So now I'm at 33 and 33, so patching one-to-one, keep it simple. I can touch on there if I do it right, and I can go all the way out to 48. Pow! Job done. So now my front of house over here has got all 48 inputs from the GX4816. Happy days. So I can do my mix the same as if I was using local inputs. I just need to patch those inputs. So I've done the tie lines. So now I'm back on my front house. This does get confusing, but it's one of those eat an elephant things where you just do it bit by bit and just follow it all the way through. So let's put that up so you know which one I'm looking at again. So now I'm on my front of house console. So I've done my one-to-one patching, and now what I want to do is just patch my inputs. And I'm not going to do this because it will break something, but it's coming from S-Link, so I just stuck my S-Link at the top. and I could patch my inputs 1 to 48 from there. Very simple. Do my mix as usual, and then I'll patch my outputs. So this is still front of house console. All I need at the moment is to patch my main left right out to my S-Link, and I can use whatever channels I want, really. I might do 1 and 2. It depends if you're used to working in a certain way, or you like specific channels, or if you like to think. So, for example, on all the SQs, 11 and 12 are labeled on the local on the back for left and right. So maybe you want to use 11 and 12. But patch them wherever you like. Just remember where you patch them. And now we'll go back to our monitor console. So, monitor SQ. And now we use tie lines again. But this time, because I'm connected to my I/O port, so I'm going from, so it's the inputs from my I/O port out to my S-Link outputs, which are connected to the 4816. So let's say I patched that left and right to 1 and 2. All I need to do now is take 1 and 2 from the I/O port and patch it wherever I like on the S-Link. So on S-Link, it would say GX if I was connected to a GX. And I've got 16 outputs, and personally, I like to patch to 15 and 16. So that means they're right at the end. So my left to right is right at the end, and I go 15, 16 over here. So I'd say 1 and 2, go to 15 and 16. Again, I'm not going to do that because I can't remember if it's going to break anything, because I am talking to you through the SQ. So cool. Right, let's jump back over here. So that's sorted, nice and easy. And for our input channels, let's get rid of that a minute. Okay, for our input channels and our outputs on the SQ7, I've got the inputs, the input channels, and I've also got the monitor outputs. What's the best way of drawing this? Because it's going to get messy in a minute. Okay, so my monitor outputs are also going to S-Link outputs. So both my inputs and my monitor outputs are on S-Link. So let's get back over here. Monitors. So all of my inputs are going to come from S-Link, same as front of house. And all of my outputs, so all of my monitor outs, so all my mix outs here, and my AUXs and whatnot, they're also going to go to S-Link up to 16. Job done. So let's take it a little bit further and see what other stuff you can do, which is pretty cool. So something I really like to do in a setup like this is have a bit of a backup. So I can patch monitor outputs, so like my AUXs, from the front of house as well. So if I'm not using all the mixes at front of house, if I'm not doing everything with groups, for example, I can patch the mix outs or the AUX outs to the S-Link outputs as well. And what this enables me to do is take that S-Link, the I/O port input, so the S-Link outputs from front of house, the I/O port inputs, Oh, I did break it. I did break it. The problem with that. Thanks, Mal. But the problem with that is that I've lost all of your questions. So I'm going to open up Facebook in a minute to try and see some of them. So do bear with me. Apologies for the technical hiccups. I didn't mute myself or unpatch myself. Thankfully, it was just my internet completely conked out. If it happens again, I will do the session again from the start. But we'll try and carry on for now. So, what did we get up to? Oh yeah, great trick. Don't know exactly where it conked out, but I was talking about patching the monitor input. Okay, I was talking about doing the monitor outputs to the S-Link. So front of house patching to the S-Link outputs. And then S-Link outputs go to your I/O port inputs on the monitor console. And then you can patch those inputs to your monitor mix external ins. So a mix external in just allows you to patch in something without any processing. And the benefit of patching to your monitor mix external ins here means that if for some reason the monitor engineer decides that they need a wee or they need a burger, then they can run off and you could unmute stuff and you could try and carry on running monitors from front of house. So I've done it before at festivals where maybe the monitor engineer can't show up earlier in the day, or you've only got a monitor engineer for some of the bands, and that means you can quickly switch. You can leave the monitor console running, but you can run your monitors from front of house. So that's quite a cool little tip. And I've done it this way because actually it's kind of like this. There you go. So all you need to do then, if you do want to switch over, is mute all of the mix outputs on the front of house console when you're not using them. Just make sure that they're muted, because otherwise you're going to get two lots of mixes coming through. And then you can run the monitors as normal. And then when you want to use them over here, just unmute them here and turn down all of the inputs here. Or you can just mute all inputs. So you could set up a mute group and just mute all inputs here, because with tie lines, the mutes aren't going to affect the signals going through to the front of house mix. So you should be all good. Another thing I wanted to mention here is with regards to chatting between engineers. So just like the mix external ins that we've got available, we've also got a powerful external in. And we have a post talk switch output. So the talk button that you would patch, let's see the setup for that. So the talk back here that you would patch and you would use to speak to any of your auxiliary outputs or your mix outputs that you might be using, so you can talk to the stage. You can patch that, and that's in the outputs monitor out, and you see talk back there at the bottom. So you can patch that wherever you like, including patching it between consoles. So I could patch that to a free S-Link port, and I've got 128 there. So even though I've already used 100, even though I've used 48 of those channels with my tie lines from the GX4816, I can add in another one. So that could be on 49. It could be whatever. It could be 128 if you like, which kind of makes sense. To get that back in on either console, because this works both ways, you'd go to your PAFL. So set up PAFL, and then you've got external into PAFL up here, and you would just patch it from here to say, okay, that's coming from my S-Link socket, and it's on, let's say, 128. And the beauty of that is it's always coming through. So whenever the engineer talks to you, so if you had, if this was front of house and the monitor engineer pressed the talkback key and it was all patched as I've just explained, it doesn't matter what you're PAFLing, what you're listening to at the time, you will hear whatever they're saying, whatever they're shouting about. If they're going, I need to go and get a burger, then you will hear that at front of house. And vice versa, you do exactly the same, but the other way around. So you would just patch the front of house, same thing again. You patch the front of house, monitor out, talk back out to an S-Link port. But this time with the setup that we were looking at, if you remember, we're using the I/O port to connect to the front of house console. So you would patch the monitor out to the S-Link, but then on the monitor console, I should put on my little label again. So now on my monitor console, I would take the baffle, and instead of patching it from S-Link, I would patch it from the I/O port on whatever channel I want. Cool. So that's a nice other little tip that we've got there. And one other thing before I try and find your questions, because it's deleted all of them. So that's kind of going that way, and that talkback is going that way. Again, that doesn't use any processing, so you've got minimal processing there, but you haven't used up any channels. So really handy. The only other thing I wanted to talk about quickly was other ways that you could use the mix external ins, because we do get questions about those quite a lot, and what are they for and why would you use them. So you could use it, as I've just shown, for monitor mixes if you've got front of house monitor split, but you could also use it as a sub mixer. So you could have another mixer set up alongside if you need some more channels, or if you're bringing in something. So you could use the mix external in on the left right mix, for example, and have a whole visiting mixer patched into it, because you can source it from anywhere, local, digital, Dante, whatever you like, waves. So that's another good use. And then the final good use that I have used only a couple of times, because I don't do huge shows, is that you can get some extra stereo inputs. So if you just need some extra stereo inputs for playback, rather than using some of your 48 input processing channels with full gate and everything else, you could use some groups. So if you've got some groups available, you can use those as a kind of basic stereo channel, which is not basic in all ways because it's got a graphic EQ on it, but it's like an extra. So you can just patch the mix external into it, don't assign any of the channels to it, and then just use the group as you would an input. Right, let's see. I can't click on them to get them up on the screen, and I'm going to get them on my phone. Let's just turn the sound off on my phone so I don't hear a loop back of myself. Bear with me while I just try and work out who I am and why I'm here. Oh, there we go. Is that going to show the questions? Overview. No. Comments and reactions hidden. No, that's no good. That's not what I want. That's the opposite of what I want. Live chat. Nope. Right, I'll have to just get back to some of these here. There was a question that I remember off the top of my head, which was about mirroring SQs. So you can't mirror them because they are two separate systems. Obviously, you can store a show and reload it on the other one, so it's exactly the same. The only thing you can do is by using MIDI to change anything that MIDI can change. So that's levels, mutes, assignments, panning, and you can mirror two consoles in that regard so that the levels are all the same. So you won't get exactly the same processing on each channel, but you will get the same levels if you've been mixing. If you need a hand of how to do that, you will need a computer involved, because you'll need to take those messages, translate them, send them to the other unit, and vice versa. So you could have two of them doing the same thing. Just give us a shout using support.alan-heath.com. Let's see if there's other questions that have come in. Whilst I open up another screen to see if I can see the past ones. Facebook, go to Facebook, and also go to YouTube. Very sorry about my internet. I'm not going to blame anyone but BT. I mean me. Okay. Right, Mo's got a really good point here that I completely forgot to cover, which is, does doing inputs via tie lines mean there is gain sharing on front of house and monitor inputs? It doesn't. So the reason with my little diagrams that I did over here, what's a better one to do? That's probably the more simple one. So the reason I've got a dotted line going around the outside of Mons with the stage here is because this is one system. So this is the monitor console on the right-hand side. And that means that the SQ7 here has control of the preamps. And that's the preamp gain, phantom power, and the pads, because all of that lives in the GX4816. When you're controlling those preamps, you are remote controlling them, and they are analog things. They are real things, digitally controlled, but they live in the GX4816. So that's all part of one system. What you do get separately on the 5 and the 7, or the front of house and the monitor console, is trim on both. So if I jump over on here, and if I've got a local socket, so let's find a local socket, cool. I can access the preamp controls, so the 48 volts and pads and everything else, gains here, because it's a local socket. If that was a digital socket, so let's find a digital socket. What have I got patched in? Is that digital? There you go, that's an S-Link socket. So if I go to an S-Link socket, I don't get any of those because there's no preamp there, but I do have trim on both of those. And that's separate. That'll be separate on the front of house and the monitor console. So what you want to do, or what we'd recommend you do, you don't have to do this, of course, is go to Surface Preferences, and you can have Preamp on Surface on or off. And this, you can just about see it off to the top left there, sets whether or not the dedicated preamp gain rotary controls gain or trim. So if I've got that on, and I'll go back to my processing, if I move that, you can see I am changing the gain, and it's showing me the gain there. Great. And if I go back and I turn that off, go over to my processing, and I use that same control, now I'm controlling trim. And the reason for that is that any preamp changes, because they exist at the GX4816, happen before it goes anywhere. So that means that any gain changes would affect both consoles at the same time, which is a bit of a pain. So if you turn off the preamp on Surface, you can still get in. So if I go over here, I've got the preamp on Surface off, but I can still jump in as a the monitor engineer, and I can say, hey, I can change my gains by just touch and turn, but it's a little bit more hidden away, so you're less likely to do it accidentally. It just means you have to jump in and set it there. So I hope that answers your question, Mark. It's a very good point, and thank you for bringing it up. Bring it up. Can't speak anymore. Everyone's waiting on their source expander. Wow. The new expanders in DLive are phenomenal, but they have only just come to our flagship DLive. So I also hope that we can get them on SQ in the future. They are deep after all, but it won't be immediately, I'm afraid. But yes, I also very much hope that we will get those in the future. A lot of people have been using some Cat5. That's a good one. So Edoardo says, a lot of people have been shown success by using Cat5 to Fibre and Fibre to Cat5 converters, so like MIDI converters. Have you guys tested anything or have any suggestions for running DX over Fibre? Okay, so DX is the recommendations here, or the things to watch out for, is that DX runs is fast Ethernet. So it's not running gigabit, it's running 10, 1000 T, base T, 10, whatever. I'm not a network engineer, but it's fast Ethernet. So the way the S-Link port works is by initially looking at the speed of the connection and then deciding whether or not it's going to be running gigabit, so GX, GigaRace, or if it's going to be running fast Ethernet, which is DSnake and DX. So if you get a media converter, the first thing to do is make sure you get one that either can be set to run as fast Ethernet or just is a fast Ethernet media converter. But then, the concept of them is just to take the signal that's plugged into them, convert it to fiber, so optical, and send it over a long distance. And it does it very fast. So the desk isn't going to notice that it's there as long as you've got a decent quality one that's running at the right speed. Where, as I say, you'll run into problems is if you run a gigabit media converter, because as soon as you plug it into the S-Link port, it will say, oh, it's GX, GigaRace. So you wouldn't be able to run DX and it wouldn't discover the DX boxes. Dave Squires is worried that I'm eating too many burgers. Yes, I definitely am, and I should stop. And pizzas. Trying to get the SQ-MixPad. Okay, here we go. Having a hard time getting to connect to the app. So a lot of the issues that we see, Tim, with connecting the app to the console are really just to do with the router. So sometimes things get hidden, or sometimes there's firewalls in place or switched on in the router, or things are being addressed in weird ways, or you've got maybe you've got you might be using MixPad on a PC, and maybe you've got a static IP on that, but then it's a different range to the console, and you've got the console set on DHCP. But give us a shout using support.alan-heath.com. We can run through all of that with you. The first thing to try, though, is just have a quick look on the console itself. Go to Utility General, and you will see an IP address there. You'll also see it in Setup, Network Setup. You see an IP address there, and you can connect to it manually. So you can use other on the MixPad app and try and connect to it manually, and that'll tell you whether or not it's something weird with the settings of your router, or if it's like a physical connection because it can't see it at all. Mike says, "What have you got for broadband there? It's twice you've frozen." So this is hang on, let's grab it there. Oh, hang on, I'll show it there. So there are, let's say, there's benefits and there's downfalls to living in Cornwall. Some lovely beaches. You can probably hear the birds if I'm quiet enough. But also, I realised when travelling up country the other week that everybody else's broadband is about 5 times as fast as ours. We've got Fibre, but it stops about 3 miles away. Oh, okay. Can I show the graphic again? Which graphic? Which one? I can show all of them. I'll show them all now. You can do a screenshot if you like. So that was the physical layer. That was the ports with some drawing for tie lines. This was the channels, and this is squiggles all over. So hopefully you got those. You can watch these sessions again, of course. They are all recorded. They are available on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Is there... Oh, yes. So, Scott, this is something that would be very handy as well. So you can have things like talkback groups. The best way of doing this at the moment... Ian Paramore, if you search for Ian Paramore with an I on Facebook or on YouTube, maybe. Don't know if you'd find it if you search there. But he's done some great videos with stuff that he's done with MIDI, and you can kind of make your own talkback groups by using a channel and using MIDI to set the assigns for it, so you can assign it to different mixes, and then you could actually use MIDI from the SoftKeys, which is available, so no on and offs, hooked up to a computer or something like a Bone Box. So the Bone Box, which I've probably shown before, but it's just a little box like this, and it just does MIDI in and out with various things. If you connect that up to a network that one of our consoles is on, it will automatically connect to it and give you access to the network MIDI as well. And you could do various things with that. So you could set a load of rules. You can create anything you want, translations and stuff, and that would all run in the box. So you could just have that sitting on the network somewhere and be able to do what you're asking there. Okay, let's see, there's more here. Can I just say that I like the short hair, beard and the short hair? I think it suits you better. Oh, thanks very much. Thanks for noticing. Yeah, I realised it got to the point where it was only comical for me, and it just looked awful, so I cut it off. Oh, okay. Digico SD12, front of house, SQ7 monitors, analog split. Any tips or advice for SQ setup? First time I've done two different consoles. So with an analog split, there's really not a lot to say. It's quite a simple thing, other than if you've got isolation transformers and you've only got isolation on one side, so some some analog splits have isolation on both. Then what you want to be doing is isolating the front of house from the stage, because often the monitors, stage boxes, and all the stage equipment is all running on the same power, and occasionally some bright sparky wires things up weird, and you've got different power at the front of house. I've seen it a couple of times. It's not a good idea. So yes, isolate front of house from monitors. That's about all I could say on that, I think. Other than that, it's very easy. You've just got completely separate control on both, and they are running as two separate systems. Some problems with recording via jump drive. So recording's finished, the audio is very low when I play it on Mac or computer. Okay, so this is related to meters and levels. Let's find it. SQ Alan. Oh, he might have found it. He has found it. He's done well. So there's a question from Hello 90J. Hello 90J. So if you check out this link I'm just about to post, you'll see that the headroom inside the console is about 18 dB of headroom. And when you're recording to USB, or you're sending out digitally, you're sending out the signal as is. So we're not boosting it or cutting it. You can boost it if you like. So if you're doing multi-track recording, you can go into routing, and you can get on any of the inputs. You've got the direct out at the top here, and you can boost the direct out level. So just by going into the direct out settings there, and you can boost that by 10 dB. You can also boost mixes by using the gain, because the compressor's at the end. Let's find me a mix. So processing. So for example, at the moment, I'm sending out to you over USB. This is the channel that's going out to you. And you've got a 10 dB gain boost there, which just brings it up. I've still got some headroom left, but because I'm streaming, it's not something where I'm that bothered about overdriving the output. I've basically put a limiter on it and then boosted it a little bit. So I shouldn't get distortion on that output to you guys. And I've boosted the level because I'm not that bothered about headroom. If you're recording, it's quite nice to have all of that headroom there, because it means if the drummer hits the snare way harder, like Mol probably would, then you're not going to get a peak because you've got that 18 dB of headroom. And then after the fact, you can boost it. It's not going to make a difference to the analog side of things, because you're just dealing in digital. So that's not going to bother you. Okay, so I hope that helps. Maybe. I hope it explains it. The article goes into a lot more detail and talks about what we do with metering, what the output levels are, line level, plus 4 dBu, differences between dBu, dBV, dB on the monitors, dBFS. So hopefully it answers both of those questions, because I think you've asked it again there. Sam says, thanks for doing another video on the SQ. Hey, no worries, Sam. Primary bank of knowledge. Oh dear, that's worrying, isn't it? I'm an idiot, so I don't. Do the adjustments made to the previous multi-track recording on the drive using the board stay the same? So when we record live again, the mix will remain good. Oh, okay. This is I think I know what you're asking here, MD. If you're doing a virtual sound check, the whole idea, and I have done a session on this, so you can go and find that on the events page or on our Facebook page. If you're doing virtual sound check, you're replacing the source. So usually your source is if you've got a live source, let's go back over here. Usually your source is either the local inputs or the stage box, and that's where your preamps and everything else. What you're doing is the preamps still live over here, so gain and stuff is not going to change, but you're replacing just before you go to those inputs on the desk. So the idea is that you record these inputs raw. How can I show this on this diagram? I'm going to just ruin this diagram a second, sorry, bear with me. If we've got, let's say, let's just call it recording. So if you've got recording, you would record the raw signal coming straight from, so using tie lines you could do. You can use direct outs post preamp, but you want to record the raw output from the preamps. And at the same time, you are kind of maybe doing a bit of a mix. That's fine. But that's the important bit. And then when you do the playback for the virtual sound check, you're kind of just doing that to your inputs. And you can do your mix because your input is from the whatever you've recorded to, be it Dante or USB. And then when you come to play back, you're changing that input. So you get rid of that and you're going back to the live input. So as long as you've had your gain set correctly, these signals should be the same, and therefore all of your processing should work in exactly the same way. And therefore, yes, in answer to your question, all the processing will stay the same. You're just changing the input source from the live source to the recorded source. Would concept be the same if you prefer front of house to be connected to the GX4016 and split to the monitor console? Okay, yeah, good question. So Wes is asking if you connected front of house to the GX4816 instead, and then you use tie lines at the front of house console and ran back to the monitor console. It's pretty much exactly the same, other than you need two lots of cables. So you need to run two cables because you've got the connection to the box and you've got the connection between the two systems. Whichever one's got the expander on it kind of doesn't matter. You're just connecting two systems. But obviously, if you've got a stage box on stage and the front of house console, that's one cable, and then you've got monitors next to the stage, that's another cable. So that's the only difference. Other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same setup. And yes, you would get gain control at front of house that way. Josh says, only question today is, how the heck are you? Josh, I'm great. Thank you, sir. Thank you for asking. I hope you are also well. Okay, Analog speakers. Yep. Good, cool, Scott. So another thing on that question on analog splits, you provide phantom power from the stage board, not the isolated front of house. Correct. And you will notice if you did this with any of our consoles, where we've got phantom power LEDs on some of the stage boxes, if you do an analog split, that phantom power can be picked up from either side, and it will light up that LED to show that there is phantom power on that channel. It might not be switched on your console, but that's what's going on if that happens. And that's just because you've got phantom power somewhere in the system powering the, it depends how you've wired it up, of course, but somewhere it's powering up the desk. And that usually happens in unisolated systems, which is not recommended because you can have real issues with that. Avantis at front of house, Avantis front of house SQ7 monitors. Yep, similar setup, Wes. Okay, I'm going to wrap up shortly. So last chance for some questions. I'll see which ones I get to now. I shouldn't really drink coffee because I talk too fast for these as is. Slow down. Avantis front of house, such the same tie lines. We just use Dante. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so the concept is exactly the same. The only extra thing with Dante, of course, is that you have to patch the Dante modules together using Dante controller. S-Link is plug and play-ish. It's one lot of patching on either end. With Dante, you'd have one lot of patching on either end, plus the patch in the middle. Mol is being an expert. Do listen to Mol. He is an expert, so he will tell you exactly what's going on there. A very experienced man. So definitely listen to the Oracle of Mol, the Moracle. Can I use the SQ MIDI faders to control a PC DMX controller software? Does the USB-B still work for MIDI when the mixer is in SQ drive mode? Yes, it does. So it's just the audio that gets flipped over, so you can do it that way, or you can do it, which I think is in my mind a better way of doing it. You can use the ANH MIDI control software, or the app, which is available on Mac or PC, and you can get the MIDI in with virtual ports via that. So you can set that up as a MIDI through. And the benefit with network is that on USB, the USB-B connection is that the audio takes priority. And the MIDI messages, if you were throwing loads of MIDI messages through it and it was too much, it would drop or ignore the MIDI messages. It might drop a couple here and there. It's not going to drop loads, but we felt that that's more important. It's more important that the audio is kind of untouched and maybe you miss one or two messages. Whereas with network, it works in a slightly different way. So there's there might be a little bit more of a delay, but it's got a different set of buffers. It's probably more in depth than you needed, but use the network connection for MIDI, unless it's easier using the USB-B. But it'll work either way. Will there be a future update to make Virtual Soundcheck easier? There has been suggestions to. So I mentioned when you're flipping between Virtual Soundcheck, you're flipping between the live and the recorded stuff. So we can see a quick way of doing that is to go to Inputs, and obviously you could select if you were doing. If you had your stage box, let's just say you're using local actually. So your local inputs are patched in here, and you could then patch your USB inputs if you're recording to USB from USB. And the quickest way to switch between those two is to use the input channel patch library. So it's already really, really fast because you can just say local recall and it'll be 1-to-1 for local. USB recall, it's 1-to-1 for USB. And of course you can save your own as well. So if you were using the I/O port, or you had a special set of things set up for your Virtual Soundcheck, all of that can be done through the input channel patch library. The suggestion that we've had a couple of times, which we will look into and has been noted, is to be able to switch these with a soft key. The danger of that, of course, is that if you've got it always set up on a soft key and you accidentally hit that soft key, you've just changed all of your inputs mid-show. So it's something to consider. Any tips for using the groups with the configuration of LR+Aux for subs? I have issues to control the whole group with my kit going to LR and aux. If you're using auxes for subs, is this? Okay, perhaps this is because you've got a group, but you only want to send just the kick. So you want the group to the LR, but you only want the kick to the aux, which is probably quite common. I would personally, I would just do it. There's lots of different ways you could do it, but personally, I would do it by unrouting the kick from the left-right, so that your left-right is in the group, and you've got that's your main mix, and then you see the aux, your sub mix, as something that you're adding into your main mix, and therefore only adding the individual kick channel to that mix. And I would probably do it that way. The other way of doing it is to have two lots of groups, so you could have a mix of both if you want to get some of the low end of the snare, but you can kind of do that with the individual channels as well. And a lot of what you hear with stuff kind of pumping, or if you're doing compression, or if you're doing overall stuff, will be in the mid ranges rather than just the sub anyway. So yeah, I'd do it that way. But yeah, there's a few ways of doing it, and I can't really give you engineering tips because I'm not a great engineer, which is why we do the rig and mix rundowns. Insert the multiband compressor on mains, use weird convertering effect. Yeah, so if you put a multiband compressor on something, it's a bunch of filters, and you will get weird comb filtering effects when parallel mix value is not fully dry or wet. No, that is correct. It does not. It doesn't do it that way on the multiband stuff. So you've got filtering, it takes more time, and there's no compensation for that. So the multiband and the dynamic EQ, they're all designed to be used like in one go. They don't work in the same way as the parallel path that you've got on every input and on the main mix. The reason for offering the mix option is because that is a standard. You didn't see that on the image, but the question is, why offer the mix option if you get the comb filtering? So the mix option comes as part of the effects rack. So yes, probably don't use it on those processors, but it's obviously very useful if you're inserting something like a phaser or a chorus, or you're inserting a reverb on a mix, for example. Edoardo says the first time I used a non-ISO split, he was very scared. Yeah, I would be too. Multi-track sessions, play them back. Anthony's been annoying people with sound. That is my favourite pastime. So good on you. And granddaughter's delight. That's great. Hello, XLR. When will the new deep processing be coming out, please? Well, with all the major releases, we try to add stuff, and I've got every digit crossed that we will be able to add in the new deep stuff with the next update for SQ, the next major one, which will be 1.6. I don't know when that's coming yet, but obviously it will be coming at some point. Okay, all right, I'm going to wrap up because I've been going on for too long. I'm very sorry about the technical issues, and I'm very sorry that I didn't get around to all the questions earlier because I can't see them anymore. So I'll have to go back through after this, and I will try and get back to you just as a message. I will be back in a few weeks' time for more SQ stuff, and I will be back next week for Q stuff. If you've got a Q as well, or you just fancy hanging out and drinking tea or coffee or water or squash. Thank you very much for joining me, and keep an eye on that events page, alan-heath.com/events, if you're interested in learning more about any of our products. Take care all, and see you again next time. Ta-ta!